Dancing means everything to me. It's just such a natural thing to come into my life, working towards something, learning the routines, getting that praise. You're not always going to get on, so you're team building, you're going through conflict resolution, and then you pull together this amazing thing at the end. Dance saved me. I was born in London and moved to Norfolk at about 9 months old. Overall, my experience of Norfolk was hard. We were one of the only families of colour. My mum was a single mother of 7 children. There used to be a group of dancers, they're called the Toilettes. They used to dance in the hall, and so I used to go and peep through the little crack of the door, and I used to watch them, and I was absolutely fascinated by that from a really young age. I would have loved to have been involved in something like that, but there wasn't the money there. I was around 9 years old, and we left Norfolk to come to London. I just remember being completely shell-shocked. I was like, wow, I could be anything I want here and no one would care. I started secondary school and I really was enjoying it. But things were not good at home. It took me to year 8 to come out and say it, but behind closed doors, a family friend who was a regular male who used to come to my house started sexually abusing me. And I experienced probably every awful feeling a human being could feel and shouldn't have felt at such a young age. I moved out of the house and kind of brought myself up for a few years. It was really, really tough. I started dancing at a youth centre attached to my school, and my dance became like my new home, so to speak, and my new sort of family. One of my youth workers, he just turned around and said to me, "We're looking for a dance teacher. Would you be interested in doing it?" I had lost all my confidence, so to see somebody that's kind of seen that in me was a huge thing. And I remember that first class just being absolutely ram-packed. One class turned into 2. Then we got another day, and it just really escalated really quick. I honestly thought that that was it. I thought, right, it's my time to live. Not at any point did I think something else was going to happen. I just turned 30. I had a holiday booked, and I didn't know if I was going to make it or not, because I was just shattered. Kept getting colds, and I just thought, oh, I'm completely run down. I need the sun, let me go away. And my first shower that I had there, I remember feeling my breasts and I felt a lump. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, oh, hormonal, I've been through a lot, you know. And it was when I went to my massage therapist and she was massaging me and she felt the lump. And she was like, "What's that?" And I said, "Oh, I think it's just a hormone lump." And she sat me down and she said, "You need to go and get this checked out. Go." And I'd been to the hospital before. This was really different. They're like, "Wow, it's quite big, but again, we think it's a cyst, but we're gonna send you for more checks." One of the worst experiences of my life, waiting for those results. Everyone's trying to say, "Oh, don't worry, it's nothing, you know, don't worry, it's fine," and all this sort of stuff. But then on the other hand, you know that there's something not quite right there. I just went in the room. Her words exactly were, "I'm not gonna beat around the bush, we found cancer." So yeah, and God, yeah. There is so much information you have to take in. You just sit there and shut up while that person is telling you that you've got cancer, that you will have to remove that breast. That's our thought process. Our recommended course of treatment for you is chemotherapy. I was dead set on not telling anybody. There was this feeling of like, why did my body fail me? Like, was there a reason why cancer came to me and not anyone else? And also, like, what other black girl has got cancer at 30 years old? Like, this is rare. Like, there was a feeling of being ashamed. I started chemo in November, and everyone was really lovely. The nurse that was administrating me, he turned around and he said, "You seem like a really positive person." And he said, "Believe me when I'm telling you, that's almost half the battle." So it began, you know, the journey of chemo began. I did start to lose my hair, which then prompted me to shave it off. There wasn't much I was controlling at the time, but I was in control of that. You know, I didn't want to see my hair fall out. If you're coming in at the same time every week for chemo, you start to see familiar faces. And there was a lot of people there on their own, particularly the women of colour that I saw. After a while, I started to talk to people. There was some ignorance given towards me in regards to my diagnosis. And they too had gone through exactly the same things as me. One of the girls, she was told to go back to where she got her cancer from by her family, almost as if the cancer was catching, being told not to take the drugs. God will cure you. All these things that are so culturally embedded in these communities that are outdated and that are not true creates the most detrimental thing that can happen to a human being when you are diagnosed with cancer is blame. When you feel that you are the reason you have your cancer, that dictates your whole cancer experience. Was that right? We need to look and see if there is space or if there's places that we can go to hear these women's voices. So I said, look, why don't we all come together? I got my mum to bake loads of cakes. We took a kettle and a load of cups down there, and there wasn't a dry eye that left that room. These are women that have probably not even had a space before in their lives to express themselves. I set the next one up immediately, and more women came. And then I knew this was a monthly thing. Do you know, forgetting how far gone as I asked a really good friend of mine based in my office if she would take some pictures of my breasts whilst they were going through the reconstruction stage. Those pictures got me, and I remember saying to her, I said, imagine if I could get probably 8 women to do these shots, and we put these up somewhere and did an exhibition. And she went, why don't we make it happen? And Black Women Rising was born. Top Cancer Stories podcast. I'm Leanne Perro. Doing the pictures and seeing how they looked and knowing that they were going to be given a platform to also share their stories, I think gave these women a feeling of freedom and a feeling of being heard. At that first Black Women Rising support group, I kind of think that's when I realised what my purpose was. I had been dealt, up until that point, some difficult cards. But every card I'd been given, I was able to turn it around and use that experience to help others and empower people, you know, show people that there's no limits in life. We need to continue the conversations about cancer. It's about normalising that cancer is part of our everyday lives. And it's about creating healthy conversation. That's what we want. When I got told I had cancer, I honestly thought it meant death. We now know it doesn't necessarily mean that. Life goes on, and actually life can be better. For every one of me, there is many others, hundreds of others, but we don't see that enough. We see all the bad stories, we see negative things, when there is so much positive as well. So I think we need to continue the conversations about cancer, just to educate everybody that it's here, but it doesn't mean the end.